This is the Vacation Rental Success Podcast, keeping you up to date with news, views, information and resources on this rapidly changing short-term rental business. I'm your host, Heather Bayer, and with 25 years of experience in this industry, I'm making sure you know what's hot, what's not, what's new, and what will help make your business a success. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Vacation Rental Success Podcast. My name is Heather Bayer, and as ever, I am super delighted to be back with you once again. Today, I've got a really special guest joining me, someone who's not only deeply immersed in the short-term rental world, but has also made it his mission to bring people together, share knowledge, and elevate this industry. I first met Bart Sobies at a Book Direct Scale Summit in Miami, and I will not forget that. We were all out on a patio beside a pool, and this guy turned up just next to me, introduced himself, and that wonderful accent said that he just arrived from Australia. He was dealing with some jet lag, but he made it all the way through that evening, and I've met him so many times since that day, and his indefatigable passion for this industry just shines through on every occasion. So today, Bart is with me all the way from Australia. Yes, he's speaking to us from tomorrow morning, which is always a little mind-bending for me, but perfectly fitting for someone who's often thinking a few steps ahead of the rest of us. So Bart is the driving force behind the Strive to Thrive events, which have become a cornerstone for hosts and managers in Australia and actually around the world, looking to learn, grow and connect. And through his work, he's building just a truly engaged community, one that isn't just focused on booking nights and boosting revenue, but on building sustainable, human-centered businesses, all with AI wrapped around it. So in this episode, we're going to chat about what's going on in the short-term rental industry right now in Australia, across the world, and where Bart is focusing his energy. And of course, what he thinks about AI and how it's shaking things up for hosts and property managers everywhere. Bart's got really sharp insights. He's got a real global perspective and a deep passion for helping others succeed. So let's get right into it. I am super delighted to have back with me once again Bart Sobies from Down Under. Welcome. This is ridiculous, Bart. It is. What time is it for you?
7 o'clock. I've been up since 6 o'clock doing my hair, my makeup, and practicing my singing.
But it's 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, and this is what gets me.
Yeah, it's kind of the future, isn't it? It's a bit weird.
Yeah, I always.
And it's interesting when we're booking appointments as well, right? Because we're trying to figure out which day it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, it's Friday. And you're like, it's Thursday. But yes.
But anyway, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for coming along and joining me. I was just saying, I pre-recorded the introduction and just remembering when I was standing at that poolside in Miami. And you just appeared and it was like, hi, my name is Bart Sobies. And
oh, yeah.
And absolutely. You had almost just got off the aeroplane, so I don't know how long you'd been up. It was days, I think.
Yeah. It was 30 hours to get there, and I remember arriving. It was sort of first thing in the morning, so I think it was like 7 or 8 in the morning. I got into Miami, got to my accommodation, and obviously they can't check you in at that time of the day unless you book the night before, but you only have to wait a little bit. So then I went into this like officey type area, and I just worked for like 6 or 7 hours, got back to my room once they let me in. I don't think I even had a sleep, and then the next thing I know, I met you. Well,
yes, yeah, there was a lot of people around that poolside. I remember it because I'm not comfortable. I'm definitely not comfortable in those sorts of crowds. And it was a breath of fresh air when you appeared, and you didn't know anybody either. So I mean, I knew people, but I'm always uncomfortable at these events. So
what do you think? What do you think that is, Heather? Because I'm exactly the same. And most people would probably look at me and think that I'm an extrovert, that I love going out, and that's really easy for me to connect to people. But I think it's easy when I already know them a bit, and then I can kind of navigate around. But approaching a group that I don't know at all.
Well, you did well. You definitely did well. Anyway, tell us a bit about, for those of you who don't know who Bart Sobies is, can you give us a potted history, bring us right up to date with the fact that you've got a small squawker around you as well?
Oh dear, he's getting involved already. Amazing. So Bart Sobies, I run a business called iBooked.Online where we primarily help small businesses with their marketing, branding, their websites, getting them ready for their digital presence. So making sure they're getting more direct bookings primarily, but also so that they represent themselves in the right way, so they're getting more bookings overall. But the history or the story of it all started when I was 15 years old. We were building websites back then. Then, as I got older, started working for a company that built websites for restaurants. And Heather, you'll find this interesting. This was back in the day before there was anything called online ordering. You couldn't order a pizza online. And we would call them up and we'd say, hey, you need a website so that people can order their pizza online. And they would say, no one's ever going to order a pizza online. And they'll slam down the phone and just tell you to go away. And we know how kind of that all changed since then, and all the different services that offer that capability. Fast forward to today, we run a huge Facebook group called the Accommodation Professionals Network, where we've got around about 2,800 members in there. We've also got a conference that we run called Strive to Thrive. We're in our third year. 200-300 people gather at each conference. We just did, in March, we did one in Melbourne. Then we went over to Auckland in New Zealand. And then next year, the plan is to do Auckland, New Zealand, and then later in the year, we'll go to Indonesia and probably do a conference in Bali. So kind of this whole area, we're doing conferences in the short-term rental space, once again, to kind of just get everyone together, get them talking, get them networking, get them mingling, is what we talked about before, which I think is really important for them and for the industry overall. And then I've got my own podcast as well. So those are a few of the little things that I get up to.
Well, of course, as ever, everything will be on the show notes if anybody wants to go take a look. Just connect with Bart. Usually I do all this at the end, but I thought it would be really neat to kick off so people aren't listening going, who is this person? Okay, yeah, Strive to Thrive. I love the title. And, we did a conference way back in 2016, 17 and 18, and that was the first independent conference that happened in North America, really.
Wow.
And we started in Toronto for a couple of years and then went to San Antonio, and then COVID, of course. And after that, there's been such a boom in summits, conferences, get-togethers, which is fantastic, because people they're just so much more willing to network and share and get together, and I love it. So those events happen, and it's boomed because they have a huge amount of value, and people that go to them, they know that it's really worthwhile. I mean, we just started pre-sale tickets for next year for March. And we're selling so many tickets because people are like, yeah, I know they're going to need to go. I want to meet everybody and see everybody, catch up and find out what's been happening or what's going on around you. If you just silo yourself and isolate yourself, you really do miss an awful lot of what's been happening in the industry, which can really impact your business, your future, your goals, all that kind of stuff. So it's not surprising that there's been such a boom of these conferences. Absolutely. I did a post on LinkedIn today answering somebody who'd been talking about the power of networking and competitors getting together. And I remembered a Verma conference years and years ago where I met one of my competitors, and at that point, nobody talked to anybody. And there I was talking to one of our direct competitors, and we just sat down and had a coffee, and it was like, oh, this is easy to chat. He gave me a tip that transformed my business, and it triggered so much. From that came the formation of the Ontario Cottage Rental Managers Association, which then in turn during COVID, we were lobbying government as an association, just out of that sitting down with that person and having a cup of coffee. And it was set in motion this chain of events.
It's incredible. You can really pick up one or two different tips. I know that me going to Verma for the first time, so this was after the meeting you in Miami, then heading over to Verma. I remember leaving there, and then after that, we tripled our business within the next 12 months.
Yeah.
And it might not be any specific conversation that I had with anyone, but for me, there was also a bit of a personal journey where it really justified it helped to justify my business, who I am, what I'm doing, and not feel like I'm punching above my weight. I was like, actually, I fit into this room. I could do really a lot better. If everyone here is doing this well, I just have to move my bum a bit faster and go in the right direction to catch up. So it changed everything for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to see you at Verma this year, so that's great. We will meet up in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Hate it.
I know that you were hesitating on Vegas.
I don't like Vegas. I don't like it, but I'm there. I'm actually there. I'm there in October and there again in November for an AI conference. So talking about AI, because I can't, I can't do a single episode without talking about AI. What do you reckon? Is it a buzzword? I spoke to somebody today who was saying, well, I have a lot of people around me who think it's just going to be a passing fad. And,
Ooh, really?
Wow, really?
Yeah.
And these are investors in real estate, and they're saying, they're just not taking it seriously. Give me your take on where we are with AI in our business right now.
Yeah. Interesting that someone would say that it's a passing fad. I think that you're seeing this massive proliferation of these different tools that people are building and saying, hey, this is the next thing that's going to change everything with AI. One of the things I was talking to a friend about that runs a drinks business. Okay, so manufactures drinks, trying to get started and stuff. He's like, I just can't get any money, Bart. I just can't find investors in it because it's kind of this traditional product. Now, if I had said that it was AI-powered drinks, I would probably get massive amounts of investment for the future. So I think from that perspective, absolutely right. There's so many tools coming out every single day, and they promise the absolute world. You click on it, you're like, oh, it's going to do all this stuff, and then you start to use it, and you realize that it doesn't do half the things that it's promised that it's going to do. I mean, even a lot of these chatbots that have come out, they just don't work. They should work, but they don't work. If you've used ChatGPT for 20 minutes, you'll know that it gets things wrong all the time. And for them to be able to create that structure in these tools, it's very, very difficult. Now, does that mean that the technology isn't going to change things forever? And it will change things forever. It already has changed things forever. It's not a passing fad at all. Impossible. It is here forever. It's going to change everything. And in monumental ways, this technology. It really, really is. I was reading an article about our national carrier, so that's Qantas, and how they're embedding it in everything that they do, from trying to reduce food waste, from planning out their schedules and all that kind of stuff. They're using this technology to help them move faster and to make better decisions within their business. So, look, if there are people that are doubting it, I would say be careful, because you can do so much so fast with it, and you can move so much fast as a business owner. So don't sleep on it. You'll get into trouble.
Yeah, what I've been finding recently in a lot of conversations I've been having with people is that they get so excited about all this brand new stuff coming on, and they're devouring it, almost to not quite to the degree that you and I probably do. But they get excited at the hype, and so they're seeing the tool and then trying to fit a business problem into the tool, rather than doing it the other way around, identifying something that is, repetitive tasks or something that's taking way too much time, and then search for the solution. Do you think which is the best way?
Oh, look, I think you're absolutely right. I think that when we look at some of the problems that people are trying to fix, and you can go to my podcast and have a listen. We talk about AI agents and kind of building tools that are going to help solve business problems. It's really, really hard to actually design the tool to sort of fix it. But if you've got, like you said, if you've got repetitive tasks that you're doing, so answering reviews, responding to commonly asked questions for your staff, but then it gets even more complicated because you can look at pricing and all that sort of stuff. But anything that's repetitive, you should always be looking at AI to see whether it can help you. see what the results are like, and then create an SOP where you use that tool within your business. You can also waste an awful lot of time because it's not always going to get things right with ChatGPT or with those tools.
What would you advise somebody, particularly, if they're starting out and they're wanting to go this DIY route? Because once again, the hype is you can do it all yourself. So here's a tool, off you go. If it, let's say Manus or Replit or some of the other tools where they're saying just all you need to do is give it a prompt and it will give you the result you need. And lo and behold, you've got an agent or you've got an app and you're off and running.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody who is sort of thinking along those lines?
Of getting themselves started. So it's interesting. So I present probably around about a dozen times a year at different conferences talking quite specifically about AI. And when I talk about AI, I'm sort of talking about marketing, branding, customer service, and it kind of gets a bit more complicated if people want it. Well, the one question I ask at the start is how often are you using an AI tool within your own life, right? Like, is it on a daily basis? Is it a weekly basis, a monthly basis? We do a show of hands. And I'm always expecting to walk into that room and to find that, as the years have gone on, that most people would be like, yeah, we use it every day. Obviously, Bart. It's obvious. Of course we're using it every day. But I did a presentation the other day, and it was a room of 15 leaders. I'm not going to say the name of the company, but not one of them had used an AI tool in the past month. And I was like, whoa, really? Like, that's really it makes your life so much easier. It's kind of like saying I didn't Google in the past month. I'm like, how did you not Google? You didn't have any questions to ask? Like, what are you doing? AI is the same sort of thing. It's even better than Google, right? And that's why Google's investing in Gemini, because they know that it's such a powerful tool. So then what we do is we take that group and we teach them. And we teach them about how to use this tool in many different ways. But without being taught it, it's really hard to actually get going, because you can get going. What happens is that you go wrong with it. It doesn't give you the answers that you want, and you can't see the power of it in your own life or how it's going to affect you. And that's the biggest issue, because hypothetically it's all good, but until you can see, all right, I'm going to use this to respond to emails. I'm going to use this to compare quotes from all these different companies. I'm going to use this to respond to reviews. I'm going to use this to do some workshopping of problems that I have within my business. I'm going to use it to do my SOPs. Now, Heather, you and I know what that list looks like in terms of things that we could use it for. And I bet you that every single day there's a new use that comes up. You're like, oh, I could go and do this with it. I could take a picture of this menu in Japanese and translate it into English and then get the pricing in US dollars so that I know what I'm eating when I'm out in Japan, right? Oh, can I give you one that I? Sorry, I'm.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
So you mentioned at the start that we had a newborn. His name is Louis. He's awesome, and had Mum over from New Zealand. Mum's in New Zealand. She comes over for a few weeks to spend with us in the first few weeks, just as a support, and she was wonderful. And she wants me to go to the shop to get her rooibos tea. Do you know what rooibos tea is?
No idea.
Right, okay. So that's me as well, right? So I'm like, rooibos tea. Now, I know that she drinks it and she's always having it. And I go into the supermarket and I'm looking on the shelves and you've got probably around about 50, 60, 80 teas, right? They're all lined up. And rooibos. I'm like, wow, I wonder if they've got rooibos. I can't find it for the life of me. So I pull out my phone, take a picture of it, upload it to ChatGPT. I'm like, hey, is there rooibos on this shelf? And it's like, yeah, there is rooibos on the shelf. And I'm like, oh, awesome, great. And then I'm a bit more assured. Maybe there is actually rooibos, and I'm not going crazy. So I keep looking, and I can't find the thing. I'm like, you know what? I think I responded. Am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
You can indeed, if you
can.
wish.
I said, you're full of it. You're full of it. There is no rooibos on this shelf. And I said, well, Bart, you might find that if you look 3 rows down and then 4 to the right, that you'll find the rooibos. And I found the rooibos.
Was it a label on a tin or something?
Yeah, it was just it was it managed to transcribe the text and find it. It told me the color of the box, the shelf that it was on, and how many in it was. And then so that was like a really, me just going, oh, let's try this out and see if it works. And the stories that I have just keep it going and going in terms of the real world use cases that are quite incredible. So if somebody's getting started, first step is download it. Download ChatGPT onto your phone. The reason why we talk about ChatGPT, because at the moment it is the leading solution out there. We can debate it. Is Grok better? Is Gemini better? Claude, is it better? But generally, ChatGPT is doing a very, very good job, and it's the one. It's like the Google at the moment that you just Google, right? Like you can use the other platforms, but it does it very, very well.
So let's talk about ChatGPT 5, because there was all sorts of hype around that. It's going to be released in August. When in August? Beginning of August? Middle of August? When's it coming? Here it is. And then it sort of fell flat. So, yeah, I was excited because I thought there was going to be something really outstanding with this. And I'm not sure what I was hoping for or what I was expecting, but probably a little more than sort of a damp squib that it felt like.
It's kind of, I don't know if you remember when iPhones used to launch. They used to have people like outside the store, like lined up for days, camping overnight to get the latest iPhone. PlayStations were the same as well. And each version of the new iPhone, especially in the first 5-10 years, there were significant improvements. They were different. They were cool. They were thinner ones. They're the bigger screens, smaller screens, and did different things. Better cameras. It's kind of got to this stage where now the phones have got so good that they're kind of just the same thing, right? With a different wrapper on them, and they a little bit more better performance, but there's not been anything revolutionary, especially in terms of the hardware of the phones. With the advancements in AI, it kind of feels a little bit the same. There's a lot of hype because it's such a game-changing tool. So when ChatGPT 5 came out, I expected the new version of the iPhone. It'll just be the most wonderful thing you've ever used. What's interesting about ChatGPT 5 is they promised the world when they did their demo. Did you watch the demo?
I briefly watched part of it.
It's awful. It's the worst thing I've ever seen.
And I think that's why I sort of passed it by. I looked and thought this was not inspiring.
For something so revolutionary, and the amount of money they have, I don't know what they were thinking. Like there was kind of like a virtual stage. It was just weird for how good they are, right? For how good their product is. They released ChatGPT 5. The thing is broken, right? It just doesn't do things the way that it should do. And Sam Altman, he's like tweeting every 24 hours saying, we're fixing it, we're fixing all these different things. The one thing that you may not remember is when they released ChatGPT 4, or it was 4.0, I can't remember what the version was at the time, it was exactly the same thing. They released it, the thing wasn't as good as 3 because they were still tweaking it and fixing it. And that's what's happened with 5. 5 came out. The first week was a disaster. They started re-releasing the old models. They couldn't get it to work. But now, actually, if you use it, it's not too bad. It works quite well. It's quite fast, and it can do all sorts of things. So I think 5 is great. I use it. I think it's really good. But like you said, I don't like in terms of revolutionary.
Yeah.
Not really.
There was a couple of things that I found out about it afterwards that I didn't know you could do with it. Like you can customize your personalities. It's down the left-hand side. You can go down and customize. So you can have a cynic. It gives you these personalities. You can have a cynic. You can have a robot. You can have a listener who's warm and supportive and aids you in decision support. Because I know the whole sycophancy thing was certainly getting a little bit too much for me when I was. So, if I was doing a business plan, it's like, oh my God, this is the best business idea you have ever had.
You're wonderful.
You're amazing. But now you can have it cynical if you want. Delivers some is a bit more blunt, and then there's the nerd, which will give you in-depth explanations and.
Yeah.
That's one thing. I listen to Everyday AI. I don't know if you come across Jordan. Oh, I can't remember his last name. Everyday AI. Anyhow, he was doing these 5 overlooked features of ChatGPT today. So it has his 5 overlooked features: interactive flashcards and quizzes that you can do within ChatGPT, customizable personalities, expanded advanced voice mode, now in custom GPTs. Mm-hmm. So I use voice a lot. I don't like to type. And before, you could not use voice, or I have a struggle to use voice inside a custom GPT. And then there's direct Gmail and Google Calendar connectors and project level custom instructions and memory. So I've been going through those, and yes, that there are some changes and advances, and I thought I will spend a little bit of time on this. But yeah, it's faster. I'm not sure I'm not blown away, shall we say? But
yeah. Look, I'll tell you the things that they sort of pitched when they released it. It's got better reasoning.
Yeah.
So it will give you better contextual answers, and I think that's true. And as I've been using it, I found my answers to be a bit better. And what it does is it's actually different models within itself, and then so it can give you better answers. If it's not giving you one, then you'll see that sometimes it goes into kind of thinking mode, and then it comes back and gives you an answer. One thing I encourage everyone, if it's giving you any kind of numbers or any kind of data, very often it actually contradicts itself, so it actually hallucinates, which we'll talk about in a sec. The context memory, that's probably the biggest one, Heather, is that before it was 128,000 tokens, and now it's over 1 million tokens.
We better step back a bit, just to explain what a token is.
A token is just a piece of data, basically, and that's how it's kind of almost like how they monetize their usage. So it's a usage thing, how much data you've got before there, and how many tokens you're using to actually go through the data. And if we're talking about 128,000 tokens, what you're talking about is when you're looking through your thread that you've been talking to ChatGPT about something, you're working through your podcast episode, you've got the transcript in there, you're asking it questions about it, it means they can only go back 128,000 characters kind of before your last prompt. So therefore, if you keep on asking questions, it's going to forget what you said at the very start. Now they've 10x that, so therefore it's going to have a much bigger context window that it can actually read into and give you responses based on that. And that is really important, and something that people are constantly getting tripped up on is not understanding that there is a limit to these tools. That it doesn't remember everything, just haphazardly. It can't remember everything. And then even if it does remember everything, it can't put the whole puzzle together to know how it all fits together. So the context window being extended is a huge thing. But what's interesting, Heather, is that ChatGPT or OpenAI are really slow to the ball game with this. They were really one of the last ones to open up that context window, and now they're already falling behind with the 1 million tokens. So that's something that is a big race, but it takes a lot of processing power to open up that context window. But that was one of the biggest ones. Personalization we talked about. I'm going to push through these very quickly. Multimodality, so that's full text, image, audio, video integration. So that's where, did we notice much difference? Probably not. Accuracy and reliability. It says that it's having fewer hallucinations. So hallucination is when it's just making things up. I'm not finding that. I'm finding that it's still hallucinating. It's making up a lot of things that just aren't true at all, especially around numbers. That was the dream. Speed and efficiency we talked about. Voice is one that you think of. More natural, expressive voice can translate and teach languages. Oh, wait, one of the cool ones you can do is you can you're talking to it in English and you can switch it over to French and then it'll continue the conversation in another language. That's really, really cool. So that we use.
My ChatGPT talks to me in Welsh. And
amazing.
Yeah, I don't ask for this. You know, maybe I'm out on a walk, I'm having a chat with Lucy, who's usually very helpful, and then all of a sudden she comes back to me in Welsh. And it's like, no, please stick to English. Why are you using Welsh? I'm so sorry. So I haven't figured that out. I'm sure there's a Reddit thread somewhere that talks about ChatGPT talking at you in Welsh.
One of the tips for everybody is if you are using ChatGPT, then if you wanted to start to do things differently, check your settings so you can have your personalized setup, but also you can tell it to remember things. So you can say, remember, don't talk to me in Welsh, or remember, always speak to me in English. And that should help, but sometimes it doesn't.
So this episode is brought to you in part by the Straight Chat community, the online gathering place for short-term rental professionals who want more than surface-level advice. We've created this community for those people who want to explore new tools, to talk about the real challenges they're having, and to connect with others who get it. Straight Chat's where those meaningful conversations are happening, and we're sharing news and innovations and new tools and anything you want to know, along with office hours each week and regular tutorials. And along with that, if you've been seriously curious about AI, about how to use it for guest messaging or workflows, setting up standard operating procedures, or even marketing, check out the AI Ambassador Program. It's designed for short-term rental professionals who want to lead the way with smart, ethical AI adoption. You don't need to be a tech expert. You just need curiosity and a desire to stay ahead of the curve and to lead the way in your company. Visit vacationrentalformula.com/AI to learn more and to join us. Free versus pro.
Yeah, interesting. So we don't use free anymore because it's just ChatGPT just adds so much efficiency to our business, so it's hard to give you the right answer. One of the things is if you're working with images and you're working with voice and that sort of thing, you're going to have limitations. I think as a beginner, definitely the free version is absolutely fine, but I would say that anyone that's a business owner should just upgrade to pro and just start using it from there, because your context window opens up, you get access to better models, it's faster, and it's, I think, relatively inexpensive, being that $20 a month. I don't believe that I think they give you access to kind of different models on the free version, but I don't think that they make it a dumber product. It's kind of like Google saying, well, if you go pro, you can get these better features, but it's not going to compromise your search results because you've gone for the free version.
What about the platforms that consolidate a number of different models? So Poe is one, and you can have you buy in at $20 a month, and you get ChatGPT, and you get Gemini, and you get Perplexity. Perhaps you get all of these. Do you have any thoughts on whether this is a good route to take?
Look, when you use those platforms, what they're doing is they're using APIs to go in and access the different models, right? Mm-hmm. Which is all good and well. The only risk with that is that you're not getting all the latest stuff coming out from ChatGPT, and you're not getting their interface, the user interface, and you're not getting all the features. You're not going to get 100% of the stuff moved across. So you're not going to be able to create your own GPTs over in one of those tools. If you want to do your own GPTs, you've got to do it back into ChatGPT. You won't be creating projects in the same way as you would in ChatGPT, and then build them over there. So I think that if you're using it for testing, let's say we are trying to create, I think if you're doing anything like copywriting, marketing, you could definitely use this platform, and then try the different models and find the one that's working best for you, because they're constantly changing and evolving. But I think once you know which platform you prefer, I think you go back to it and you stick with it, because that way it should work way faster. You're going to have less restrictions, less limitations. It can't be that these platforms that consolidate give you exactly the same value. It's just will never ever work that way. So yeah, I've used them back in the day. I haven't touched them for a long time, just because every time this is what happens. Every time I go and I'm like, you know what, I'm about to do another presentation. Let's jump into Claude. Let's jump into Gemini and see how it goes. I spend 10 minutes in it and I'm like, this is awful. Then I bounce back into ChatGPT, and that's kind of for me for now. But however, Gemini, Claude for programming, huge. Gemini, if you're doing any kind of like software development and stuff, that's where a lot of the developers are actually moving. There's better infrastructure, better support. They see the future being with Google with these tools.
So you personally use ChatGPT more than anything else, though?
Correct. Yeah. That's the one.
So what about the idea that AI is going to take over people's jobs? What are your thoughts on that? If a brand new host came to you today and said, you know, what if a host came to you and said, should I be worried about AI taking over my job? I think I know how you'd respond. But if it was somebody who was thinking about working for a short-term rental company?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's going to create... Will it replace jobs 100%? AI in general, that's what it's doing. It is taking tasks that we do, and it's doing them quite often, delivering a better result than what a human being would. Right? Remember that these tools have got access to pretty much the entire library of the world, all the little bits of knowledge. So it's way smarter than a human being will be, and they're just trying to refine it to make sure that it can kind of do things better than us. So there'll be a whole bunch of jobs that you don't have to do. So the person that's writing reviews or writing copy or writing emails, they're not going to have to do it as much. So there's kind of like this baseline of tasks that it takes over. I don't think it's about replacing jobs. I think it's about replacing different tasks that we do, which inevitably will then either get that person to change tasks, or a lot of those tasks that you used to do, you don't have to employ someone to do them anymore. And then you repurpose the people, that resource, to somewhere better. So as humans evolve and they go on, then we get better at doing things. But just because we've invented the vacuum cleaner, so now we don't need as many people doing it, well, that person is then going to do other things rather than vacuum. Now they're going to start cleaning windows and stuff like that. But what's interesting is the one thing that they say is all of the sort of like all of those tasks where you need to be nimble. Right, you need your hands. That's the one that they say that's going to take quite a long time for the robots to come and take them over. Yeah,
so we'll all learn to be plumbers or to fix hot tubs. Yeah, I think that would be good.
That's right. Well, I mean, like even cooking, right? Like being a chef and that sort of stuff. Like you can prepackage stuff and make meals. Apparently most clothing is also, they can't get robots to do it because you have to be quite nimble to do the sewing on clothes. Look, in terms of our industry, so accommodation, property managers, short-term rentals, is it going to change things? Yes. I think it's just going to make your life easier. I think that you'll be using ChatGPT, but I think a lot of those, the stuff that will be done will be all within your channel manager or within your property management system, or Airbnb will create a whole bunch of AI tools and just make things easier, a bit more efficient. And I think that there'll be, it will take away some jobs, but I don't think it's going to I don't think everyone's going to lose their jobs tomorrow because it's a very hands-on business. You need to go and clean the properties. You need to do all these different things. You got to answer the phone. Like, it'll take over some phone call stuff. I've got an interesting one for you. So now voice AI bots will answer phone calls, right? And then answer people's questions. Called one up the other day to find out if there was a beer special on at my local brewery. I said, hey, is it the beer special on? Yeah, there is, Bart. Between 5 and 7 p.m. on a Friday. Great. Is it on which beer is it? On all beers, Bart. Are you sure it's on all the different beers? Yeah, absolutely. Turn up to the brewery. Is it on all the beers? No, it's not on all the beers. It's just on the lager. I'm like, okay, that's not what I expected. So it's not there yet. Yeah. We'll get there in the future, and replace someone being on the phone, right?
But it's still, I just think it opens up the creativity in hospitality for companies. You've got people there who can be human because I don't think I mean, this is a business where humans are a complete necessity, and maybe that will change, which would be very sad.
Don't overuse the tools is the key to this.
Yeah.
Because you can get everything, just chuck it in there and then do your summaries and do all their stuff. But then from an audience, like people can start to see it quite easily now when you are using the AI, when you haven't put much thought into it to sort of improve it or make it better or have your own voice. And what happens is your content becomes really bland and everyone can tell really quickly. So it's super dangerous if you get this wrong. So you can use it as your assistant, but don't use it to try to take over what you're doing and to not have any thought, because you will damage your brand so quickly. And I know people that this has happened for. Literally, they're producing content, putting it out, and you just see their following and their viewership flop, and everyone's like, "What are you doing? This doesn't, this isn't interesting, right? We can see what you've been up to."
Yeah, it's no good just going in and saying, "Write me 10 blog posts on this topic."
No.
And then just publishing them. Because somebody else is going out to do exactly the same thing.
And this is the hype that we were talking about at the start. There are these tools that are coming out that are saying, it will write all your blog posts for you automatically. It doesn't exist. This automation thing doesn't exist yet, because all the content needs a human to go over it. It needs to make sure that it makes sense. It needs to make sure that it's right. It does not exist a tool that can just push it out and make it good enough for public consumption. It doesn't work yet.
Yeah. So let's come away just a little bit from AI. You've built communities, you've built platforms for hosts. Where is the short-term rental business heading? We hear what's happening, and I don't pay a lot of attention to what Airbnb is doing. But I know that there's a lot going on at the moment. Is it different in Australia to what you see in the US when you come over?
It's interesting. There's a lot of parts of the Australian market where I feel that we're really ahead, and then a lot of parts where I feel we're behind. Technology, I think we were quite far behind the US, for example. I think a lot of work that kind of we did to sort of build Strive and build these communities and get these companies to come over and start talking to us. Especially, I think the PMSs were around for quite a while. We had like a lot of local ones, and then the guesties came over, host away, and that sort of thing. But if you're looking at sort of the Breezeways of the world, Enzo Connect, and all these different sort of extra services that are on top, they, for us, it took longer for them to come and to start to show their product and that sort of thing. I think from a hospitality point of view, I think we do very, very well. We really do understand how to look after people over here. What's interesting is having launched Strive in New Zealand, I feel like New Zealand is in that same boat, that they've got hospitality down, right? Like that's what they're known for. They're famous for it, right? But then in terms of that operational part of view, the technology, it's kind of not there. What's interesting is, I don't know if you heard about Oyo acquiring Made Comfy. So Made Comfy is, I don't know if it's the biggest or one of the biggest property management companies here in Australia. So they spent over $50 million on that acquisition, which is a kind of a real testament to where the industry is going and how it's moved, is that you've got these big players coming in and spending a fair bit of money. And they spend it to help to grow their business. They didn't spend it just to acquire it, get rid of the founders and then just put it, just cash it. They're like, you know what, we're going to use this as a stepping stone for us to keep on growing our business locally and internationally as well. So there's a few things that I think that are happening. So I think the industry is professionalizing all the time. People are getting better at what they do. Better systems, better processes, really understanding that you need to have, a set standard bed sheets, for example, for this thing to work. People's expectations have changed. Like before, it could be anything. Right now that's a minimum requirement. And then I think that the other thing, which I'm hoping for, I think that the from a regulatory standpoint, it's been in a sort of flux for a while, where there's kind of push back against short-term rentals. But then, for example, where I am in Australia, here they put in a levy of 7.5%, and I think that kind of stuff it's not great for the industry, but also I think it stabilizes things a bit because it's like, well, you're keeping attacking us and going, hey, we're doing all of this, but you're making loads of revenue from it, and hopefully that revenue can go back into the right places to support society and all that kind of stuff. So. Yeah, and the last thing I'd say is I think that also the collaboration thing is going to keep on growing. I think that more and more people are coming together, talking about what they're doing, and working together. Everyone kind of knows everyone,
Yeah.
unless you don't know anyone, but everyone does know everyone. And I think that's one of the things that's changed.
I remember going to a Verma conference back in, I don't know, 2012, I think it was. Now I'm really dating myself. And they were talking about it was VRMA International, and they showed the map, and it had all the US states on it, and then this big blank above this line. And I stood up. I mean, for me to stand up and actually say something in front of 1,000 people and I said, you can't say you're international if Canada is not a part of the map. And they promised then, we will amend that. And I think it was a lot of years. And in fact, I'm not even sure it's there now. But it is at that time, though, it was very sort of parochial, US based, and now to go to Verma conference, and there are people from all over the world. And I remember our first conference in 2016 that we had two people come from Australia, and that was
Do you remember who they were?
Diane Denton.
Yeah,
you know Diane.
Yeah, I knew Diane. Yeah,
and oh my gosh, this is bad. Yeah, I can't remember the other person. But he was amazing, and I'm so sorry I've forgotten his name. I'm hoping he's not listening to this podcast, but I will add it in. I haven't heard from him for a long time. So, but Diane came to 2016, 2017. She was in 2017.
Seahorse Diamond Beach, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Wow. And that goes to show, look, that community, it's always there. And I'll keep banging on about it. Get to the conferences, get to the events, get to know everybody. So one of the things that from the last drive that I didn't even know about, they created a whole WhatsApp community in the background of all these different guys, and they keep on going to different things and inviting each other to these things. I'm like, why am I not invited? They said, because you don't have a short-term rental. I'm like, I do, but I'm not like you guys. But it's interesting. So I think that I think there's all of that, and I think it'll be really interesting as well. And I want to talk about this quickly. When we talk, I know that we're moving away from AI, but I do want to bring it back for a second, because the way that people are going to find accommodation is going to change dramatically over the next 2 to 3 years. And that's our biggest change, which is coming in. If we look at the OTAs, I'm not going to name names, but we know that there's one that's under huge pressure by another one of the big ones. So the way that people are booking is changing already. The way that the inventory is coming up. So what we're saying is, where Airbnb had a huge control over the inventory, so all the short-term rentals, now people are using channel managers and going on. They're not loyal to Airbnb as such. They're like, well, we can go on any platform. Once AI comes in, people stop Googling as much. Or if they do Google, then you get the answers at the top of the page. So they're not going into the website. So direct bookings get affected massively. But the way that we book and interact with that, especially with voice, it's going to change dramatically. And people have to start getting ready and understand that it's going to change, and how they're going to build their brand, and how they're going to make sure that they're at the top of these results is going to change forever. We're not going to do things the way that we used to do them. It's going to change.
That's a great point to finish on, because I think that's really sort of a thought we will take into the future for when you come back, maybe in 6 months' time, and see what's happened.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I think it's a really exciting sort of space with all the AI. I think that the industry is as a whole is booming. It's doing very well. My top tips for people would be: don't, if you see a great tool that's been promised to you, make sure that you Google it. You see that there's proof that it's good. You know, see the reviews. Is there 1,000 reviews from 2 years ago saying it's a great tool? If there's not, don't bother.
Yeah.
You'll waste so much time on it. Try to create blogs and try to do all this stuff. It doesn't work. Half of it just doesn't work. Promises a lot. And yes, does it do it? Yes. It will do it, but does it help your business? It probably won't. So that's the one thing. We've got a list actually, Heather. If you want to think of the top tools that people
that would be great
in 2025,
can we share that?
Send it through to you. Yeah, absolutely.
There is a site called There's an AI for that. Have you come across that? If you Google There's an AI for that, and so there's an AI for that. 40,489 tools, AI tools, for 13,580 tasks and 5,072 jobs. That changes by the minute, that number. It wasn't long ago I looked at this and there were 19,000 and now there's 40,000. So that relates back to what you just said, you know, just because something's come out and they've got masses of hype about it doesn't mean you should buy into it, because it may not be around in 3 months or 6 months.
Yeah, and just follow people that kind of are using it all the time, like me and you, and we can kind of recommend which ones that we're using, and we're using it all the time, and then we'll be on top of it a lot faster. So that's the number one tip. Number two tip: download ChatGPT and start to use it. Get it on your phone. Start playing around with it. Upgrade to Pro if you can. And then 3, always check your answers.
Yeah.
Always proof your work, because if you don't, your content will be bad. You'll make mistakes. You'll make decisions based on something that the AI has told you that is incorrect as well. So be careful with that. So those are my top 3 tips. And yeah, I'd love to come back in 6 months' time.
Yeah, well, we can talk about this in 2 months' time when we get together in Las Vegas. So, Bart, thank you so much for spending time with me in your early morning and my evening the day before.
Oh, good to go. I'll send you an email at the end of the day and let you know what happened.
Send me some lottery numbers then.
There you go.
Thanks so much for joining me. It's been such a pleasure.
Absolute pleasure, Heather. Take care.
That was a brilliant discussion with Bart Sobies. Really enjoy getting together with him and just talking through, sort of geeking out, really. Did you get that? Did you get the geeking out bit? Yeah, it's. I always find it fun when I'm talking to somebody who can geek like me, and even. I mean, he's way beyond me in terms of knowledge and understanding of AI. So I'm just a learner, like we all are. Okay, so if you want to learn more about Bart, go to the show notes at vacationrentalformula.com/VRS627, and you'll find the show notes and information on how to get hold of Bart and to download the information that he has on tools to use in 2025. Well, that's it from me. Don't forget, you can connect with me at any time at heather@vacationrentalformula.com. I'm always more than happy to chat to you. Those people who have been in touch recently, thank you for reaching out. It's been a pleasure just to have, 15 minutes just to talk about your business and just share some knowledge. It's like, it's networking without having to spend time going to a conference. Obviously, you only get me at the end. You don't get so many of the other amazing people that are about at these conferences. But, it's a start. So, yeah, I always love to hear from you. So that's it for another week. Thank you so much for attending and being attentive and listening. See you soon. It's been a pleasure as ever being with you. If there's anything you'd like to comment on, then join the conversation on the show notes for the episode at vacationrentalformula.com. We'd love to hear from you, and I look forward to being with you again next week.